Right.
But let's try to surface these things. You've talked about this inaccuracy. What's the top inaccuracy that these guys can respond to?
Well, I think there'll be questions about this, but I'll just bring one up because I think it's really visual and really easy for people to understand. The collapsed dorsal fin that these animals experience in captivity, that's not a sign of anything other than gravity. It's not necessarily a sign of illness or injury or lack of welfare, but it is very much a factor of captivity. When they are in the wild, only 1% to 5% of the adult males in the wild have this phenomenon, and it's usually the result of an injury or an illness. In captivity, 100% of the males, the adult males, have collapsed dorsal fin syndrome, if you want to call it that. So if they were just honest about that it is a function of the fact that they spend so much time at the surface of the water and gravity eventually causes it to grow that way, that's one thing. That's honesty, that's accuracy, and that's what education should be based on.
The collapsed dorsal fin then just means that they're on the surface of the water. It doesn't mean they're depressed or that they're hurting.
No, it is absolutely no reflection of anything but gravity.
Do you want to respond about the fin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's right. It's not a health issue whatsoever. It has to do with the way adult males get huge dorsal fins. And their lifestyle is really what we're talking about. I mean, when in zoos and aquariums, their lifestyle is not the same that they're going to have in the wild. There's absolutely no way that you could replicate that. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's different. There is no health issues with the collapsed dorsal fin. There's maybe an aesthetic issue, and it may offend Dr. Rose because she's seen killer whales in the wild. I have also seen killer whales in the wild, but it's not a health or welfare issue. And I know that recently Dr. Visser was offended by an inaccurate quote about location of the collapsed dorsal fin in the New Zealand pod of killer whales. But the actual quote wasn't inaccurate. It was 23% had bent, collapsing, or collapsed. That was the quote. Now, that quote is exactly from her paper, and I can read it to you. It was misleading. I will give you that. You are right. It's less than 1% of adult males in the wild have collapsed dorsal fin. Dr. Dold, our corporate in charge of veterinary medicine, did an interview recently, which I happened to hear, and he says the same thing I just said, that it's not a health issue, it's a lifestyle issue. Killer whales are interacting with their pod members, and who are their pod members? They're their other whales, and they're their trainers. They spend more time at the surface. The dorsal fin is made of cartilage. It's made of fibrous connective tissue. There's no muscle control of it. As it heats up, it gets soft, and then you get a damage to the microfractures in the cartilage, and as it gets older and older, the fin begins to bend. It's like a tree, that you blow wind on constantly. It'll go over eventually. It does happen. It's a lifestyle issue. It's not a welfare issue. As a veterinarian who's been practicing for, since '92, which is, I can't know how many years, been working with marine mammals since 1983. Animal health, welfare is my expertise, and it's not a welfare issue. It is an aesthetic issue, I'll give you that.
So why is it so important?
No, I mean, I totally disagree with them. I mean, I don't think it is a reflection of welfare, but that doesn't mean it isn't related to welfare, because they do spend so much time at the surface. This is the result. It's not a natural phenomenon. And so it's sort of a reflection, a symptom, if you will, of a larger welfare problem, which is that their lifestyle, animals don't actually have lifestyles, they have natural history, but their life history has changed so radically in captivity that this sort of thing can happen. And incidentally, can I just ask for a clarifying point? Todd, did you say that there is cartilage in the dorsal fin?
It's fibrous connective tissue, yes.
Yeah, but it's not cartilage.
Yes.
There's no cartilage in the dorsal fin. So, it does need the water column to hold it up to grow, which is what they have in the wild. They're below the surface most of their life, and the water column helps support it as it grows. And they do not have that in captivity because everything about what's important to them is reversed.